What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. The SmackDown Go Home Show for the King and Queen of the Ring 2024 takes place tonight on Fox. But the boys and gals are currently already in Saudi. That is where SmackDown emanated from tonight, which means they will be on a tape delay. In fact, the show has already taken place. BC has the complete spoilers for you guys. We're going to talk about everything that happened on this Go Home show. And the finals are now set in place for the King of the Ring and the Queen of the Ring. And you won't believe what took place on this show. We're going to talk all about it. And don't worry, if you don't want to hear the spoilers, you want to see it as is tonight on Fox, I will let you know before we go over the spoilers, guys. Before we go over the review/spoilers of this SmackDown show, I will let you guys know, because we're going to talk about several other subjects first. There's a lot of stories that transpired over the last 24 hours that we have to talk about. Some of these stories are huge, so we have to talk about them first, and then we will get to the SmackDown spoilers and review my thoughts on everything that happened and the final card for the King and Queen of the Ring in less than 24 hours, which I hope to be live with you guys, reviewing that, a live watch along. That's the plan anyway, so make sure you are locked on the channel. Stop by, say what's up, but we hope to be live for the good, the bad, and the ugly review of this PLE tomorrow. But I will let you guys know before we go over the spoilers, so don't worry. First and foremost, let's go over some of the bigger stories that transpired over the last 24 hours. First and foremost, talking about the King and Queen of the Ring, Paul Levesque McMahon's massive announcement that the winner of the King of the Ring will get a title opportunity, and the Queen of the Ring the same. So this should have already been announced beforehand. No reason that this shouldn't have been the plan all along. Instead of doing a separate tournament to decide who a number one contender is, which they do all the time, or throwing everybody into a Fatal 4 or Fatal 25-way match, just say whoever gets the scepter and the robe and the crown, they also get a title opportunity. So I don't know why we waited till just a few days before the actual event, but at least the right call was made. Now, it's not that monumental to BC because it should have already been a foregone conclusion, but it's still a big announcement because the right call was made, and it does set up interesting scenarios. Like, for instance, if Gunther wins, if they're going to stay on their brand, if that's the rule, right? So Gunther will have to take on Damian Priest, for instance. Makes no sense. Heel versus heel. It's not the best match for Damian, and it's not the best match for Gunther. I don't know who wins in this scenario. And if that's the case, then Gunther would have to be champion already, right? And it wouldn't go to Drew McIntyre somehow, and CM Punk wouldn't end up with the title. Unless you're going to some weird route where you're going to get to Gunther and CM Punk. It's odd to me. But on the flip side, if Randy Orton wins this thing and he has to stay brand specific, then he's got to take on Cody Rhodes. Of course, there's a story already there, right? With Legacy. Cody Rhodes, Ted DiBiase Jr., Randy Orton leading the helm. The ultimate teacher-student clash there. But wouldn't you want that more as an actual feud, right? Like Cody and Randy. Randy maybe turns into that legend killer type character, much more of that Viper. Or they could just go, Paul Levesque McMahon loves the mutual respect era, so you could just have face versus face. No matter what happens, they shake hands afterwards. You could have that. If it's not brand specific and Randy Orton wins, then Randy could go over to Monday Night Raw and take on Damian Priest, their champion. I guess that makes more sense. Face versus heel. Interesting storyline with Randy Orton in the Judgment Day. But then how do you get to Orton can't win that, right? Because again, no matter what, this has to wind up on CM Punk. So do you eventually get to Randy Orton, CM Punk? Or does Orton beat Damian and then you set up McIntyre Orton? Would that make Orton part of the red brand? There's so many questions. I don't know. Most likely it's going to be brand specific. So you have to go for the title on your brand. But WWE just makes these changes without explanation, without reasoning, so they could always change it last second. I mean, they added this stipulation 2 days before the actual event. They got the Saudi, they started doing interviews, and Paul Levesque McMahon was just like, oh, by the way, we're going to give title opportunities to the winners of the crowns. So that's interesting, guys. That is a big, big announcement that took place within the last 24 hours. First time that we're able to talk about it. There was a second massive announcement that was made in the late hours of yesterday, and it has to do with SummerSlam. Now, this huge announcement isn't about this year's SummerSlam. It's not even for next year's SummerSlam. This massive announcement is for SummerSlam 2026, 2 years from now, when August 1st and August 2nd, SummerSlam officially becomes 2 nights, just like WrestleMania currently has become, and it will emanate from Minneapolis. That is huge because recently Minneapolis was outspoken. They were pretty bummed that they didn't get WrestleMania 41 next year. WWE deciding to go with Vegas. There was a lot of stories out there that Minneapolis thought for sure they were a lock. The way that they were having these discussions with WWE, it looked like all that was left to do was dot some I's, cross some T's. WrestleMania 41 will be in Minneapolis. And at the last second, boom, it's going to Vegas. And Minneapolis was pretty outspoken about that, pretty bummed. This sounds like a massive consolation prize, especially to announce this 2 years in advance that you're going to be in Minneapolis, coming off the heels of them being outspoken for not getting WrestleMania 41 and WWE deciding to go with Vegas. So they announced this 2 years in advance, and they give them a whole nother night of SummerSlam. This is a lot of making up, right, that WWE is trying to do for Minneapolis. It sounds like they really were telling them that they're the lock for 41. You gotta believe that Nick Khan, Paul Levesque McMahon, the second they got out of Philly for 40 and all that cold weather, they said, never again are we doing. In fact, they said that. They came out right in an interview and said, we will not be back in a cold climate for a very long time, if ever. And you gotta believe, just thinking about Minneapolis, I don't care if there's a dome or not on that stadium. Just all of the festivities, all the activities, and just the thought or the chance that cold weather could be an issue, they wanted no part of that. They're hitting the desert. They're going to Vegas. They know it's going to be warm. They know it's a place where everybody can put a lot of money on the line. It's big business. Minneapolis, I truly believe, coming out of Philly, that's where everybody in WWE changed their minds. They had a meeting in Stamford, Connecticut. They said absolutely not. And then they thought, but wait, we told them it's pretty much a lock. We just got to dot the I's, cross the T's. So they came to a conclusion. What if we just announce a massive weekend for SummerSlam? We can't next year. We already have plans for that. A couple of years from now, we'll make it 2 nights. We'll bring that city so much money, and hopefully that will smooth everything out and they won't be too mad at us. You gotta believe that that's exactly what happened here. There's no reason they would announce this 2 years in advance and at a second night. So it looks like this could be the new normal. I don't know how you guys feel about that. A lot of you guys saying you like this concept, right? Royal Rumble. Could you imagine 2 nights? One night headlined by the ladies, the other night headlined by the dudes. That's where we're leading towards. So whether we like it or not, that could be the new normal. I doubt very much it's going to stop at SummerSlam. And it's smart business too, right? Ever since WWE went to the 2-night format for WrestleMania weekend, they've done a pretty solid job. Has there been negatives? Of course. But those negatives certainly did not outweigh or surpass the positives. So the company found out quickly how much revenue they can take in by turning that 1-night spectacle into a 2-night spectacle. So if they want to take that business model and take it to SummerSlam in 2 years, I'm okay with that. Because on the flip side, while the company is making their money, the fans have more to look forward to, more intrigue, more to be invested into. So I'm fine with that. And you look at an event like Royal Rumble, which you have to believe, if SummerSlam is successful at 2 nights, which I believe it will be, Royal Rumble is next in line to get a second night. And an event like Royal Rumble turning into 2 nights would be uber special. Now, the one asterisk is, for every event that gets a second night, you have to have purpose behind the card. Every match has to have substance. And what I mean by that is this was one of the first WrestleManias since they went to 2 nights where it didn't have a lot of substance backing it up. A lot of the matches felt like filler. Only about 5 or 6 matches actually had a feud that people cared about, any substance behind it. Only 3 to 4 really for the majority of us. That's got to change, obviously, right? Every match has to be special in its own right if you're going to do 3 or even 4 events every year that has a second night backing it. So that's going to be the issue that Paul Levesque McMahon has going forward. Every match, that's a lot of care, obviously. You got to have at least 13 or 14 matches per weekend, and every single match has to have substance. SummerSlam going to 2 nights. Damn! That is a massive announcement. In fact, I would have started with that in this upload, but because it is King and Queen of the Ring weekend, I can speak. More coffee, BC. Because it is King and Queen of the Ring weekend, I felt like that announcement kind of trumps that for now, the title opportunities for the winners. But damn! SummerSlam, double the dose in 2026. Moving on, this is huge news. You guys ready for that? I gotta get a swig of coffee. This is so huge. Sexy Red is coming to NXT. Now, I'm told this is big news. Full transparency, BC has no clue what a Sexy Red is. I've never heard of Sexy Red. I've never seen anything from Sexy Red, but she is coming to NXT. So, I don't know what I'm guessing she's a hip-hop artist, right? A performer of sorts, an entertainer. But Sexy Red is coming to NXT. It got a lot of headlines. A lot of people were like, BC, though. We just don't know who that is. And there's just not enough hours in the day to find out. I really don't care that much. But Sexy Red to NXT. We'll see what that's going to do. I tell you, man, we got all the colors checked off, right? Yeah, there's already a red velvet. Now we got a Sexy Red, so they're going to have to do battle. The winner gets the red name. We already got a Paul White. We've got the whole crayon box. We got Paul White. We got Malachi Black. We got Sky Blue. We got Red Velvet and Sexy Red. We got Chelsea Green. We got Penelope Pink, right? Is she still in WoW? Women of Wrestling, Penelope Pink. What are we missing? Yellow? Fucking beige? Baxter Beige is at the local bingo hall. Man, we got the whole crayon box here. Sexy Red. So anyway, we're having a little bit of fun with it. It's a true story though. There's a Sexy Red out there. She's coming to NXT, and Cameron Grimes took some heat recently because Cameron Grimes put up a post about Sexy Red coming to NXT, and he just said this one really hurts. And a lot of people thought he was just being bitter about being fired, and they're bringing in like celebrities or whatnot. But from what I'm hearing, guys, is Cameron Grimes was an advocate to bring in Sexy Red when he was there in the company. And here he is getting fired, and now they're actually bringing Sexy Red in. So I think it's because he actually respects Sexy Red and wanted her in WWE. So that's why he's saying it hurts. So he took a lot of unnecessary heat, I believe. That's what I was told. Anyway, Sexy Red to NXT. What else before we get to these spoilers? Paul Levesque McMahon wants Patrick Mahomes to have a match in WWE because Mahomes cut an interview about his recent appearance in WWE and how he would like to get in the ring at one point. So, of course, when WWE hears this, they will pounce on it. They will absolutely pounce on it. And that's what they did. Open invitation is what Paul Levesque McMahon said. Come on, any match you want, whenever you want. I don't care who you're going to bump. You can bump our champions. Cody, sorry, you can't have that time. Patrick Mahomes is coming in. I get it, right? Eyeballs, big business. Trust me, I get it. That's why that company was pissed when AEW got a lot of headlines for being at the draft, and there is Tony Khan in a neck brace selling that Tony Khan driver that the Bucks gave him. And it was all over ESPN and Sports Illustrated's talking about it. It was all over. And WWE was like, no, get the Kelseys. Oh no, is it the Kelsey brothers? Is that their name? To get them at WrestleMania? I think it was at Mania. One of the Kelsey brothers. And then they're like, get Patrick Mahomes out there in the front row, have him give Logan some brass knucks. Or the rings. No, those were his Super Bowl rings. Right after that happened, man, WWE got NFL heavy again. Speaking of AEW, too, I did just get their Dynamite rating. They actually went up slightly. This is still really sad and bad, and I really hope they find their footing because I really love the Elite, the Bucks running AEW Dynamite especially. Like, there's just so much you can do with it, and I think they're really hitting a home run with it. It's just so many fans have already kind of bailed, and it's going to be so hard to get them back. But they got back to a 713,000 viewership this week. Of course, last week was one of their, if not their lowest ever at 627,000. Of course, a lot of NBA, a lot of NHL, a lot of playoffs going on. We don't use that as an excuse. We never will. But, I mean, they're getting hammered right now in that aspect. And then the other aspect is a lot of their core audience already bailed on them. So it's already hard enough for them to get them back to try to get 900. Then you have all these playoffs. It's a rough stretch for AEW. If they can just hold strong, keep putting their best foot forward, their best stories, I really think they'll pull through. They got to stay. 627 last week, 713 this week. I believe the stat that I saw was it's been like 6 weeks, a month and a half, since they even hit 800,000. So this is just a massively rough stretch for AEW. But they just got to hold tight, man. And once these playoffs subside, they're going to see where they're at. They could wind up at 750, 775 as their new total average, which again, obviously is not good. They have a lot of work ahead of them. Also, listen to this one. How about the new Wyatt 6 under the guidance and leadership of Uncle Howdy? It looks like we have a date on their debut. Uncle Howdy in the Wyatt 6, or this formation, June 17th. Looks like a lot of the new teasers, from what I'm being told, the date that is being given out is June 17th once decoded. So that is the day after Clash at the Castle, I believe, or the Monday Night Raw after the Clash. So immediately after the Clash weekend, Monday Night Raw, the post-Clash show, the debut of Uncle Howdy and his formation of the Wyatt 6. So it's going to be interesting, man. Who's going to be in there? Will it be like a Dexter Lumis, a Nikki Cross? Will Alexa Bliss appear? She does want to be a part of SummerSlam. Doing this after the Clash is obviously setting up something huge for SummerSlam. It's going to be interesting to see who's involved, man. Is Matt Hardy going to show up? There's a lot of good characters you could have in this formation of the Wyatt 6 under the tutelage, the guidance, the leadership of Uncle Howdy. Be interesting to see what it's named, the feel of the faction. It's so much. It looks like they're going to start him off, that group, against Jey Uso. They've already planted that with the Fireflies and whatnot, so that's going to be interesting as well. What else? Do we want to get right into? Unfortunately, there was more firings in WWE at the headquarters as Endeavor continues to merge UFC and WWE, which we knew they were going to do that from day one. They pretty much were merging departments from day one, but they continue to do that. And now we're talking massive department, like the live event staff for WWE is being merged with the live event staff of UFC. And because UFC was the first baby of Endeavor, they're going to get kind of that seniority. So a lot more people are going to be fired out of the WWE unit in Stamford, Connecticut. And that's what we're seeing. Long time, like decades long employees being fired recently over the last 24 hours. Even vice president of like live event operations. Unfortunately, one of the people that were pivotal in bringing Logan Paul into the company, she just got fired as well. So unfortunately, that's going to continue, guys. They're going to merge. They're going to try. It's all part of the flywheel, which Endeavor said they utilized when they acquired UFC and they were able to recoup $50 million. And we look at WWE's acquisition from Endeavor, and they're going to be looking for 75 to 100 million. The only way they're going to truly be able to even hit that number anywhere close is if they fire actual talent that is making the big money contracts. And I've always said if they truly want to cut $75 to $100 million in costs, the only way they're going to truly do that is cutting out big money contracts from big names, the talent, right? You can fire the longtime employees. That'll recoup you a couple $100,000 here, a few $100,000 here. But it's those multi-million-dollar contracts. When you cut those losses and you kind of recoup that, that's the only way you're going to build 50, 75 million plus and cut costs. So that's why I say the releases we've already seen, those are peanuts on the dollar for this company and for Endeavor. You're going to see much bigger named releases in the coming months. I truly feel that that's the only way they're going to even come close to 75 million, let alone the 100 I'm sure they were hoping for, right? UFC, they recouped 50. With WWE, they were probably eyeing double that. That's why I say, man, releases, merge departments, this is not going to end anytime soon for Endeavor. A lot more people will end up losing their jobs, unfortunately, in Stamford, Connecticut, and a lot of the talent will end up getting released. This was a small portion what you saw from the NXT talent. There's still a lot more on the main roster. It's just about when they actually want to do it. I doubt they want to wait till the holidays, so I would think right around SummerSlam, right after SummerSlam, what we usually see after WrestleMania for the main roster cuts, you'll start seeing a lot of that happen after SummerSlam. Is that time? SmackDown 5/24/24, the go-home show to the king and queen of the ring. This SmackDown has already went down. From Saudi, this will be on a tape delay tonight, but BC has the spoilers, all the results from this show. If you don't want to hear these results, if you want to catch it tonight in its entirety, you don't want to know up front, now is where you get off the upload. Come back tomorrow, we will have the live King and Queen of the Ring, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly review. So stop by, say what's up, and we will have a live watch along then. But this is going to be the spoilers. This is the review of SmackDown. There will be none because tomorrow we're going live with the King and Queen of the Ring. So this is it. There will be no separate review. This is the spoilers. I'm going to run through exactly what happened, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on all these segments. And we're going to waste no more time. Let's get into it. This show kicks off match-wise with Nia Jax versus Bianca Belair. This, the semis. Whoever wins this is going to face Val tomorrow at the Queen of the Ring. And Nia Jax defeated Bianca Belair. Jax squashed Belair, literally squashed her with that, just sitting on her. The old bonsai from Yokozuna. She just took her weight and squashed Belair. Not too many people going to get up after that. Belair did not. Through the match, Belair was selling that knee injury too that Tiffany gave her last week, and Tiffany's lost to Belair. But Belair was really selling up that knee injury. She attempted the KOD, but it's just too much weight with one wheel. So, of course, she just collapsed and eventually got sat on. Literally sat on. Nia Jax moving on. And a lot of people do believe, Vegas is now saying that Nia Jax will be your Queen of the Ring, putting on that crown. I can't believe that. That's wild, man. A lot of things changed when Tiffany Stratton was ejected from this tournament. She was supposed to win, obviously, last week. There was a lot of controversy from what was said in a post. They flipped it. Belair ended up winning that, but Belair was not supposed to go too far, so they gave her a knee injury, and then they just had her lose against Jax right afterwards. So Nia Jax, Lyra Valkyria, and it looks like Val will not be taking it. At least Vegas is thinking Nia Jax is taking the crown. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but Bianca Belair officially eliminated from the tournament. Nia Jax moving on to the finals. Up next, LA Knight. Yeah, he was supposed to be a guest on the Waller effect, but Carmelo Hayes ended up coming down. Hayes really chummed it up with with Waller and Theory, and this brought out LA Knight and then somehow the Street Profits as well to save Knight from the heels attacking him. So anyway, after this Waller effect, all it really did was set up a 6-man tag back from break, and LA Knight and the Street Profits defeat Theory, Waller, and Hayes. Ford ends up getting the ultimate pin over Waller. LA Knight sends Mello over the commentary table. So the faces defeat the heels. Mello racks up another main roster loss. All he does is miss, it seems, on the main roster. Up next, Rhodes and Orton have a nice little exchange, or at least a run-in backstage, and it makes you think with the announcement of whoever wins the crown, they also get a title opportunity. It makes you think Randy Orton wins this thing, Cody Rhodes or Randy Orton becomes... I mean, that's something that now is SummerSlam. Where else? You're not going to wait, obviously, until Mania for that. Again, the one asterisk I have is, wouldn't that be much more fun if Randy Orton was a diabolical heel? You could have a lot more fun. It would be a much more fun feud. Because if not, you're doing the face versus face respect thing, and you're just doing student-teacher. But we're not going to complain. If we got Rhodes and Orton at like a SummerSlam, I don't think too many people are going to complain. But that was a nice little run-in they had before Rhodes went out for his Logan Paul face-to-face segment. And I believe this was going to start off hour number 2, unless they want to switch some things up. Because it's taped, they can make this the beginning of the show. But up next was the Rhodes-Logan Paul face-to-face, second week in a row. The best part of this, from what we're hearing, is that Cody says he just doesn't trust, he doesn't believe Logan Paul, and that he's going to leave the brass knuckles. In fact, he believes he's got brass knuckles on him right now. Logan Paul says, you can search me, I don't have anything. Rhodes actually takes him up on it, and they find brass knuckles like in his pants pocket. So Logan goes, no, these aren't even my pants, these are my brothers. Of course, Jake Paul is about to have a fight, boxing match, whatever you want to call it, with Mike Tyson. So that's interesting, right? Like Jake Paul has brass knucks waiting for Mike Tyson. I just thought that was brilliant. So it's going to be fun to see how that actually was presented on TV. But that's the best part, I feel. I don't think there was an altercation, or at least not from what I'm being told, but maybe there was. That was the brightest part of that. Other than that, Cody Rhodes, the word that was used was an impassionate, fiery promo to Logan Paul. So we saw that last week too. I mean, Cody Rhodes can take it to another level when he really gets amplified. We just don't see it enough. He's always smiling. He's always got the suits. But when he gets amped up, I say this all the time with like The Miz and others, when they get amplified, man, you start to see the best out of them, right? They take it to another level and you're like, all right, I can get behind that. So Rhodes, Logan Paul face to face. Then backstage, DIY comes across the Profits, and they start talking about how their mission is to get those tag titles. And I think it's Tommaso dumps the drink of Ford. So are we going a little bit of a heelish turn with the DIY? You know, for every single week and every match they're out there, they're not really getting the fan response they were hoping for. And HHH has not put them in a position to get a good fan response. So are they just going to go, screw it, we'll just be heels. We'll roll with this. That could be what we're seeing, because dumping the drink of Ford is probably not going to get you too many more extra cheers. So again, that's one of those segments you got to see how it's going to be presented on TV. And then you went into Bayley pinning Chelsea Green via Rose Plant. And then Bayley was immediately squashed by Piper Niven. Now that may seem minuscule, but you got to think Clash at the Castle is coming up. Niven is squashing the champ. Is this their way to kind of set up Bayley? I'm not saying it's the best match, but it is Glasgow. Clash at the Castle, it's Piper Niven. Could this be their way to start Bayley versus Piper? I think so, right? It's rhetorical. I think that's exactly what they were doing. Then we go back to the backstage. With these type of taped shows, you always get a lot of filler, so there's so many backstage segments. This is no different. In fact, I skipped a bunch in that first hour that you're going to see, but there's just so much to go over. But these three, I'll kind of go through quick. You have AJ Styles backstage. He's trying to get a title shot out of Nick Aldis. Whoever wins between Cody and Logan tomorrow, please give me a title opportunity. Nick is like, I would love to. But we just made the announcement that the winner of the crown gets the title opportunity. I can't just give you it because you're asking. AJ Styles says, I don't have time for any of this. I'm out of here. And he storms out. So Styles is pissed off. LDF is pissed off at Andrade. We see them, or we hear them talking trash about Andrade. And then we go to Paul Heyman backstage telling Solo Sikoa that there was issues with Tama Tonga getting into Saudi, but they're still working on it or something. I have no idea. So Paul Heyman's still kind of weary on how this all is going. You know, how much input does Roman truly have? Is Solo actually talking to Roman Reigns? But Solo having issues getting in to the build, and that's an issue because he's the main event with Randy Orton, which, after a swig of coffee, that's what we're going to get to right now. Randy Orton, Tama Tonga, the semifinal. Whoever wins this is it. They're going on to take on Gunther. And by the way, Gunther was ringside for this matchup, so that was really kind of cool. Like, there's Gunther. That's the only person in your way between the crown and a title opportunity. And then it was the main event and the semifinal for the King of the Ring tournament, Randy Orton versus Tama Tonga. Randy Orton defeats Tonga via the RKO. Post-match, Orton staring at Gunther. Solo spike is attempted by Solo onto Orton, but Kevin Owens is able to fend off the numbers, and the show ends with Owens celebrating with Randy Orton as the Bloodline has to retreat, and Gunther is looking at his finals opponent, Randy Orton. So there it is. We kind of knew Gunther and Randy is where we're going with this. And it was just about, they're going to go Bianca and have a mutual respect type match with Valkyria, or they're going to have Nia Jax and Val. They wanted to have Tiffany Stratton and Val. It was going to be Queen Tiffany. Could they just put that crown on Nia Jax? And is it going to be King Gunther or King Randy? Sounds odd. If Gunther wins this and it stays brand specific, again, is Gunther versus Damian Priest the match? It's just, it's not, right? And that's the problem with having the title on Priest. Not too many matches will get fans excited, right? I got to see Damian Priest versus who? Who do you got to see Damian take on? Stop. That you haven't already seen him as a mid-carder. That's the problem with having the title on somebody like Damian. And then if you put it on Drew, who's a top heel, you can't have Gunther because he's a top heel. So then you gotta wait till it's on Punk. But the winner of this crown gets the title shot, so you can't wait months for Punk to come back to set up Gunther's match. It's all over the place, but that's why they put on the shows, and that's why we tune in. It's going to be an interesting day for most of us of pro wrestling. King and Queen of the Ring within the next 24 hours. I hope to be live with you guys doing a live review / watch along and reaction. So that's it. That's the spoilers from SmackDown, man. Nia Jax defeats Belair, moves on to the finals to take on Val. Randy Orton defeats Tama Tonga, goes on to the finals to take on Gunther. And everything else that happened on this show. That's it. Next up, it's the King and Queen of the Ring from Saudi. Let's rock this out. Hopefully you guys stop by, say what's up to the channel, to BC, and to the fellow AMP unit members. My channel members will be rocking out for sure. All my longtime subs. Man, it's going to be rocking. It's going to be a party. Let's do it. Until then, until next time. And there will be that next time. Top guys, we're out. BC saying check you. Peace.